Hey, free mind, you crazy for this. Soulful. It's like our responsibility to make us feel something. You know, to make people feel what we feeling. Hey, yo.
Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is the Ready, Set, Go preview show. This is, in fact, our 186th preview show that we've done, which typically takes place on Sunday night. And we do it on Sunday because we want to get the week started off on the right foot. And as part of this show, we talk about some news and current events, things that are top of mind for me and may also be top of mind for you. I'll give you a rundown of some of the content that is going to be coming out from the channel over the course of this week. And we generally have a good time doing said things. And tonight we're actually going to have a guest on. We typically do not have guests on Sunday night. We typically reserve that for Wednesday, but I was feeling frisky. And decided to invite somebody on to spend a little bit of time talking with me about something that is happening in the news. But before we get going, I want to go to the chat real quick to see who made it up in here. If you are from another country, I want you to shout out your country. If this is your first time in a live stream, I want to know who you are. And if you're first time, let us know that. Yeah, I think that's it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, we want you to identify yourself as well. How about that one? Let me go up in here to the chat. Scott, how you doing, brother? Welcome to the live stream. Extreme, how you doing? Welcome. You have to drop one of those G's, just one G in Reggie, hence 1G. How you doing, Vincent? It is good to see you. Welcome to the live stream. I'm scrolling through. My man Trev is up in here. Matt Woods. Ooh, Matt Woods was fiery today on the Instagram. Absolutely loved it. The best. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Wellbore is up in the house. Randy Resnake, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Herman says, I am very willing to accept $2 million for a cameo. Herman, you and your brother have to get in line behind me, my friend, because I am first up for any part of 2 million to do some work. And yes, we are going to dig into that. We are going to talk about the $2 million that somebody brought in for a cameo. It is shocking money. And I just want a small percentage of it. Frog Brawler, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Fantastic. I can barely say it. How you doing, Phil? It's good to see you. Tina is up in here, the OG. It is good to see you. Richard has taken notice of my very large copy of Fantastic Four 49 that is sitting back there. That was a painting that was done for me back in the day. And it is pure dopeness. I had to clear some wall space to make room for that thing because it is massive. DB, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Primary is checking in from Australia. Greetings and salutations to you, my friend. Zolo, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. There you go. First time in the live stream. It is good to see you, my friend. I am glad that you were able to make it. And again, if anyone a third, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to finish the statement. If you are in here and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I definitely want to encourage you to do so. That way you won't miss out on any of the content that comes out from the channel. And it doesn't matter if you are actually from another country or you think that you're from another country. Alan, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Omega's up in the house. L Green Machine is in the house. It's good to see you. Moto, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. I'm scrolling through the names. It is good to see all of you guys. I definitely appreciate all of you taking time to roll in for this live stream. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that we want to get to. And the very first thing I want to do, I want to start with 2 notes of thanks. I want to give a huge shout out to the Patreon. Patreon members every single month contribute some amount of money to the channel to supplement the lack of money that comes in from YouTube, because it's not a lot, to be honest with you, in terms of time spent conceiving, filming, editing, producing, commenting on, right? The videos, not a ton that comes from that. So I appreciate Patreon. I use some funds from Patreon this weekend to upgrade my cushions for my headphones. The old ones were atrocious. They were atrocious. And every time I sat down to do a live stream and put them on my head, I was always like, man, I need to replace these. And I just would always forget. For whatever reason, I would just forget to do it. I finally pulled the trigger this weekend. Huge shout out to Patreon for hooking me up with some cash to be able to do it. It wasn't tremendously expensive, so I'm not trying to blow it out of proportion, but it's one of those things that's like underwear, t-shirts. You just don't buy it until you truly need it when you've got that hole in your sock as you're walking across the cold floor. So shout out to Patreon. Definitely appreciate you guys. But I also want to acknowledge a new sponsor of the channel. We brought on a new sponsor, and if you guys saw the video that was released, I want to say this last week, you probably saw who that sponsor was. It is this website right here, comicspriceguide.com, and there will be a link in the description of the video by the time I wrap this thing up. But we have brought them on, comicspriceguide.com, as a sponsor. We're very appreciative of their support over the years. I've actually had a long relationship with them just throughout the last several years, them being responsive to questions that I have about their platforms, that I could record videos, them being responsive to answering questions when we worked them into the guide that was written last year. Just extremely helpful people. We've now brought them on, and I'm very thankful for their support. If you have not yet been to comicspriceguide.com, I definitely want to encourage you to go there. If you pay attention in this upper right-hand corner, one of the major benefits of this website is this right here. The fact that they literally have the largest database of graded comics out there. We are looking at basically 1.1 million comics that are priced on their platform right now. This is the largest database around of price comics. I think the website launched in 1995, so it's been around for a very, very long time. And so I like to use this site almost like a point of reference. If I come across a book and I don't quite know what it is, I can come here and I can search, and more often than not, I will be able to find that book because their database is so large. And I use this site in conjunction with Google searches and some other things that are out there, but it's nice to have a great repository. One other thing I want to point out to you, and this is something that people commented on a video that I released about newsstands versus direct. People commented that it felt like the prices might have been off. They actually have a feature that allows you to basically put a hand up. If there is a value that is out that you feel might be out of date, you actually have the ability to put a hand up to have somebody go and look at that value to indeed, identify whether it is outdated or needs to be updated. But as you would imagine, with the database of 1.1, almost 1.2 million comics, you can't update every one of them every single day. And so this functionality, I think, helps. So I would log in and show you how to do it. The challenge is when you log in, they actually show the value of the books that are in your collection. So I don't want to do that because they would display some things that I don't necessarily want to put out there. But I definitely want to encourage you guys to check out comicspriceguide.com, the newest sponsor for Regie Collects. All right, there you go. We did that. Let me go back. There you go. There you go. It's a great website. There's no doubt about that one. Always good to have more resources. There you go. Nothing wrong with that. I'm scrolling through. Matt Wood says Comics Price Guide is my go-to price guide. It's laid out and the site runs so smoothly. There you go. That feature is fantastic, says Doug. Scrolling through, just making sure I'm all caught up. Bulldog, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. Chris Bigger's up in here. It's good to see you. And the Conge. Steve Conge. It's good to see you, my friend. All right, so we've taken care of that. Let me give you guys a quick rundown of some of the content that is going to be coming out from the channel. And once we do that, we're then going to jump into who got paid $2 million for a cameo. I wish that it were me. It was not, but I'm going to tell you who it was in just a second. So we have some cool videos that are going to be coming out this week. We have a video that is focused on cosmic keys. So these are must-have cosmic keys. We are going to run it down. This is very much in the vein of the must-have Wolverine books, the must-have Spider-Man books, the must-have Todd McFarlane books, Jim Lee, Will Spertasio. It's very much in that vein, but we're going to look at cosmic-related comics that I believe are must-have comics. It should be a good video. I hope you guys will enjoy it and will comment if I forget some stuff, because you inevitably do forget some stuff. So I definitely encourage you guys to comment after you watch that video. We're going to be looking at something that happened. I got some stuff back, and there was a major error. There was a major error in what I received. And when you hear error, you automatically think that is something bad. This one is actually something good. And we are going to run it down in a video talking about an error that I have. In addition to those videos, we're also going to do a snag these books now. If you guys have been paying attention, the value of comics have been coming down. I started talking about inflation, recession, and some other stuff back in February of this year. And we are seeing the value of comics coming down. And as part of that, that potentially creates some buying opportunities, especially if you've been keeping your powder dry, or you have books that you've always wanted, but you felt like the prices were too high back in 2020 and 2021. Now could be the time to pick those books up. And again, people have to make that decision whether they believe now is the time or not. So we're going to run down a couple of books that you may want to consider snagging now. And then in addition to that, we're also going to be doing Comics Today on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So those are the pre-recorded videos and the live streams. And then we're also, of course, going to be releasing a podcast on Monday morning at 10 a.m. And the podcast is available on all podcasting platforms. All you have to do is to search for Regie Collects, and you should find about 165 episodes of the podcast on whatever podcasting platform you choose to use. All right. Looking at the comments right now, it's been a great time to buy again, man. I started keeping my powder dry a while ago, I'll tell you that. And I haven't yet started pulling the trigger, but I am definitely keeping my eyes on a couple of things. So I'm looking at the comment. Yeah, it's time to buy, getting some insane deals. I'm telling you, man. I told you guys on the last live stream that if you're on Instagram, it's people are selling books at some discounts now, which is nice to see, because people trying to sell things at 2021 and 2020 values, that is a no-go. That is a no-go. People are starting to make some adjustments. I picked up some great books for $2 this weekend, says Steve. That's what's up, man. You cannot go wrong with that, brother. Cannot go wrong with that. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into the very first topic. And this one, I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to hit maybe some people the wrong way. Those fans that are fans of Warner Brothers and some other stuff, this may not land well on some people. We will see. But there are some reports out there right now that a gentleman by the name of Michael Keaton, was paid $2 million for some work that we will potentially never see, for a cameo. $2 million. And you wonder, well, what? Why won't we see it? And what movie was this in? It was for the Batgirl movie. The Batgirl. Michael Keaton was reportedly paid $2 million for a cameo in the Batgirl movie. You'll remember that this is the $90 million movie that Warner Brothers decided to can. They decided that this movie would never, ever be seen. And as part of that 90 million, a healthy chunk of that money actually went, not a healthy chunk, but a couple of bucks, right? $2 million for roughly 1 week's worth of work. And it is good work if you can get it. It really is. Batman's Michael Keaton was given $2 million to appear, and Warner Brothers now shelved Batgirl, a report says. According to the Hollywood Reporter, if the Hollywood Reporter says it, it must be true. Keaton put in around a week's worth of work for his role reprisal as Batman in the DCEU, leading sources to call his contribution a glorified cameo. It's good work if you can get it, man. He got a healthy chunk of money, no doubt about it. And like I said, we will probably never actually see this movie. This article goes on to talk about the fact that this movie, the Batgirl movie, which we will never see, cost somewhere between $70 to $90 million. We'll never see it, but I'm sure that Michael Keaton used that money wisely. I'm sure that he bought himself something very, very nice. And this was published not that long ago. So this is hot off the presses to some degree or another. But as part of that that prompted me to do some digging, right? So I went to go do some digging because I was curious. I was curious, potentially, when you start to think about these Hollywood movies and how much money these movies make versus how much money they actually cost, right? I don't know, based upon everything that I've seen, whether we will ever really know the true cost of these things because of how Hollywood does its reporting, right? I think I saw some statistic that basically said that 80% of movies never make a profit. I don't know. There's a lot of ambiguity and uncertainty around this stuff. But I went digging and I found this really awesome chart that relates. This is also from the Hollywood Reporter, that relates to Marvel movies. And essentially what you'll see here as I scroll through this is the bar that you see represents the total global lifetime profits that that movie has made. And then the vertical line that you see written on each bar represents the total cost that it took to make that movie. So at the very bottom, this all started with Incredible Hulk back in 2008. And you can see that that movie cost that movie brought in $264 million, and it cost $150 million. The next one up, Captain America, the First Avenger in 2011. This movie made $370 million, but cost $140. And as you go up the list, you can kind of see Black Widow, $379 against the cost of $200 million, which is a ton. Eternals cost $200 million. It made double that, which is, again, I don't know if people think about these numbers. The movie made $402 million. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Two Rings. Again, you guys can kind of read through the list, but I'll scroll up here to the top and you can see what the most profitable movie was. Avengers Endgame in 2019. This movie brought in $2.79 billion in its lifetime and cost $356 million, which is a redunculous amount of money. Avengers Endgame cost roughly the same thing, 321. Spider-Man No Way Home, 200 million, but brought in almost $2 billion. Just staggering numbers. But again, it was an interesting chart that I found on a Hollywood Reporter. So let me go to the chat real quick, see if people have any comments. Philtastic's like, I am in the wrong business. He's like, I am in the wrong business. Eternals, it's a ridiculous amount. What is that? $402 million? Is that what? $402 million? And that movie was not great. Reggie has never promoted Eternals. First of all, never, Todd. I have never promoted it, but I will talk about it when it's news, because this is a show where we talk about news and current events. Do they add popcorn profit? There you go. I mean, this is lifetime gross, right? This is lifetime gross, which I'm guessing is all in. I'm guessing it's movies or tickets for the whole time period. I just realized I still have a sticker for my kids. It's a soccer sticker. I think they factor in all the ticket sales, and I'm guessing DVD and streaming costs and all that other kind of stuff. I'm guessing. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot of data around this chart. Marvel is indeed printing some money. Oh, talk dirty. Talk dirty to me, Steve White. He said, we need an isolation movie. Oh my goodness. Eternals or Love and Thunder. Where did that show up? Let me go back to my chart. Let me go back to my handy dandy chart. Let me see where it is on here. Thor Ragnarok, 853 million. Love and Thunder, 760 million against a cost of 250 million. People say that movie was not very good. Based upon this chart, you could assume that they made a profit, right? What we don't know is, we don't know how much of the true cost. Was it production? Was it marketing? Was it advertising? Is that what's going into this budget? Like, it's kind of sort of unknown what the true facts are with some of this stuff, but just interesting numbers. Let me go back to the chat real quick. Let me see. I'll play a dead guy for 275K. Oh my goodness, Love and Thunder was ungood, says Doug. That's what's up. I watched Love and Thunder again yesterday. I liked it. Steve, I don't exactly know how to respond to that. You were doing so good with the whole isolation movie, and then I've never seen Love and Thunder, so I'm just having fun. Somebody sent me a message. They said, "Did you go see Black Adam?" And I said, "Of course I did not. Of course I did not. I would watch Eternals 10 times before I watch." Oh my goodness. What is that? Helmsworth's hair care couldn't have been more than 10%. Well done, Chuck. Well done, Chuck. You guys are hilarious. I've heard great things about the goats. I've heard great things about the goats. There you go. There you go. You can't go wrong with some of this stuff. You really can't. You really can't. So all right, so there you go. What is that? Russell Crowe paid Marvel for his role. I think a lot of people may have paid for that movie, if you know what I mean. Like, you paid a cost. You gave them some time that you are never going to get back. So for those people that came in late, we spent some time very, very briefly talking about the $2 million cameo. It was a cameo by Michael Keaton in the Batgirl movie. The Batgirl movie that we will probably never, ever see. He got paid $2 million for a week's worth of work, and I graciously, Warner Brothers, volunteer my time. If you want to waste multiple weeks of my time, I will gladly take any amount of money close to what Michael Keaton made. All right. So just be clear about that. And then the other thing that we spoke about very briefly, this is a wonderful chart that looks at basically the budget versus the lifetime gross earnings from Marvel movies. And you can see who leads the pack there. Avengers Endgame just absolutely crushed it at $2.8 billion against the cost of $356 million. You can just kind of go down the list. There's some very good statistics here about just Marvel making and printing money. I think the last time I looked, Marvel had made like 22 or 23 billion dollars off of its movies. I mean, I don't know how much of that, of course, was cost, but I think that was like a gross number. I mean, it's gross in a lot of different ways, right? Like, that's an ungodly amount of money. I would love to have any part of that. All right. So Steve, just tell me how you really feel. Tell me, it's not every day that you get to write the word buffoon, and it's not every day that you get to read the word buffoon. So Steve Conge, I appreciate you for that, brother. Thank you very much for I love words. And so I appreciate you allowing me to hit that one. What is it? I think 50% of the total gross goes to the movie theaters and 50% goes to the studio, says Sam. I cannot not confirm nor deny that. We're going to just have to take Sam at his word until someone fact checks it. But no, Sam, thank you for offering it up, brother, because I don't know how any of that stuff works either, to be completely honest with you. So there's a lot of details around movies that just kind of escapes me. So speaking of movies, we are just going to keep this theme going because the big news item of the week, of course, is the fact that Black Adam has come out and exceeded expectations in a lot of different ways. In a lot of different ways, Black Adam has exceeded people's expectations. And so I want to throw this up on screen real quick. According to, I think this is Variety. Variety says Black Adam debuts at #1 with $67 million. The next closest movie brought in $16 million. That is a trouncing. That is a trouncing right there. So Black Adam, a superhero adventure starring The Rock as a villain who promises to change the hierarchy of power in the DC universe, brought in $67 million in its domestic debut. I do believe, let me see if it's in here. What is that? Black Adam heading into the weekend was projected to open to, I read previously 60 million, but they're saying 62 million while playing in 4,300 theaters. But ticket sales were stronger than anticipated on Saturday and Sunday, leading to studios to revise their estimates. So again, these numbers that we're talking about right now are still estimates. Later this coming week, we will get the actual numbers. But again, according to these estimates, Black Adam has brought in $67 million. And if you go in and you look into some other things, I think deeper in this article, I think the total box office take home for Black Adam is $140 million. Even more money came from the international audiences. again, to bring in $140 million. Now, I do believe, and again, I'm doing this all off of memory, this movie cost $195 million to make. So they are at least still in the hole, $55 million. And that number, that cost of 195, does not include marketing or advertising. So they are still in the red. There's no doubt about that. But this movie, based upon just the numbers, appears to be performing pretty well. Now, here's what's interesting. When you look at how Black Adam is performing, it came in roughly at the same place as Aquaman. Aquaman went on to make 1.1, I think, billion, $1.1 billion with a B. And that movie, however, was helped by a holiday. I think there was a holiday that happened to support and act as a multiplier for that movie to be able to bring in some extra cash. We don't know whether The Rock will have that type of success, but at present, the movie is doing pretty darn well. There are some people that call this movie a bomb, a total bust at the box office. I don't know if I'm comfortable saying that. I will say to you that this movie brought in $140 million, $140 million, which is a lot of money. So I want to dig a little bit deeper, and then we're actually going to bring a guest on that's going to talk a little bit about this. I want to show you the Rotten Tomato score. And if you guys remember, before this movie dropped, I think the critics basically gave this movie a rating of like 44% or something like that. A lot of people were saying this movie was going to be trash. It was not going to be good. Many of the people that I've spoken with, many of the people that have commented on updates that I've provided on Instagram and also on YouTube have said very good things about this movie. And I think that it plays out well when you start to look at how it scored with audiences. According to critics, 214 of them, they are giving this movie a 40%. But when you look at the audience score, it is 90%. It is 90%. Audiences appear to really like this movie, and or they just like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which is, I mean, there's a reason why this guy makes movies, and there's a reason why people show up to check them out. But again, these were some really interesting data points that I wanted to make sure that I share with you guys. And now to this point, I wanted to invite somebody on the show to spend a little bit of time talking with me about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and how great he looked in that black stretchy suit that he was wearing. Dave, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too, Reggie. How are you?
I am doing well. We spent a lot of time at soccer this weekend. My weekend flew by. A lot of soccer time.
Gotcha.
But Dave, I wanted to have you on, brother. What did you think of Black Adam? I know that you've seen the movie. You haven't seen it twice, but I know that you've seen it. What do you think of the movie?
I have. So your mistake is you're asking a Bratton this question, because you know when you ask a Bratton a question, you're going to get a long, complex answer. So
your people are consistent, and I respect that. I respect the consistency.
We are a talkative family. So here's the thing. Thanks for pulling up that Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, before we jump into that, I just wanted to comment on Michael Keaton's $2 million cameo.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage in the 90s for Superman Lives made $20 million for essentially what amounted to be a costume fitting for that film, because they never made it at all. So
that must be nice.
That's even better work. So
he didn't even have to show up. Well, I mean, he showed up, but he didn't really show up.
Not a day of filming. Not a day of filming, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah.
That's crazy. Look, if anybody out there wants to pay me some money to show up, not show up, to try some clothes, never mind. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh man. Okay. So let's see. I'm glad you pulled up the Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really important. I've read a number of the reviews, and neither the critic score nor the audience score surprises me. As an audience member, there were moments in this film I loved. I thought were fantastic. I thought, stepping back, I thought the effects were really great. I thought the score was terrific. I love the cast. There was a lot to like about this movie. That said, there were things that the critics had pointed out, and I know some people sort of dismiss critics, which I always find interesting because, you know, they are professionals. You know, if Reggie, if someone said, hey, I can take someone off the street and they can do your job,
Yeah.
you know, you'd be like, no, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same here. But because it's opinion based, sometimes people are quick to dismiss it. And
Right.
let's face it, taste is subjective, it's individual. So someone can hate it and they're right. Someone can love it and they're right, you know. So, but objectively speaking, looking at some of the reviews after I saw the film, I felt the same way with certain criticism. I thought a lot of the characters were not as developed, not as well developed as they should have been, and at
Yep.
times the same with the story.
Yep.
So I get why some critics didn't like it, and I think it's important for people to remember when you go to Rotten Tomatoes and you see 40%. This isn't a high school English paper. The teacher didn't give it a 40. That means 40% gave it a thumbs up, 60% gave it a thumbs down, critically speaking.
Yep.
And if you read through some of those, you know, those reviews, you'll find the people who liked it and the people who didn't like it are often pointing out the same things. You know, some of the, you know, all right, the bad guy just, you know, we needed more of him to really dislike him, to really get the audience, you know, to feel that anger towards that character. You know, they're right, you know, and those are critics who liked it, you know. So critics who liked it had very similar criticisms to the critics who didn't like it. They just felt differently about it, or it didn't bother them as much, or they liked other things more.
Yeah.
And like I said, there were things in this movie I loved. All the stuff about Black Adam's origin, the connection to Shazam, all of that I thought was fantastic. The way it unspooled throughout the movie, outstanding. The action, look, the action was nonstop and it's great. So some people are really going to love it for that. And that's cool. I get that. I tend to like taking a beat or two to learn more about the characters before you go to the next action sequence.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it didn't do that, but I would have liked more. And ultimately, you know, this introduced the JSA, 4 new, not new characters. We, as fans, we know who Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Hurricane, and
Red Tornado.
thank you, Red Tornado. Excuse me, not Red Tornado. I'm just blanking on her name. It's either Tornado or Hurricane, and this is because I'm on camera, so I'm having this.
Yeah, don't sweat it.
Blank
I mean,
moment.
I didn't even
won't.
see the movie, so I'm just making
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
up.
and
But
Atom Smasher, and
there you
Atom
go.
Smasher.
So
those characters, yeah.
In your mind, because one of the things that I've heard about the movie leading up to it was that people could see multiple spinoffs coming out of this movie, specifically with the characters that you just mentioned.
Right.
Do you think that there is a possibility for them to do that? Like, is there enough interest in Hawkman and Atom Smasher and some of the other characters to potentially do that? Was there enough there for them to leverage? Thoughts?
I think so. I thought the characters were great. I just thought we needed more of them. You know, this was a 2-hour film. For my money, I wish it had been 2.5.
Yeah.
And I wish we would have gotten to spend some more time with those characters. That said, I mean, Pierce Brosnan, Dr. Fate, he was terrific.
I've heard.
Hodge's Hawkman was great. And I really thought the other two, although they're parts Cyclone, thank you guys. I had a brain fart. Cyclone, I thought she was underrated because I haven't seen her come up in some of the reviews. I thought she was great. Atom Smasher was there for comic relief, and he was solid. Again, sometimes it's hard to tell when they don't give him a huge amount to do, you know.
Yeah.
But I thought they were great characters. Look, I'm a fan of the JSA, so I'm not a hard sell when it comes to a spinoff. That said, I thought there was a lot to recommend those characters, and hopefully it's enough for the audience to want to see those in future spinoffs.
So one of the other things that has been hotly discussed this weekend is the hierarchy of power.
Okay.
And we don't want to give it away, right? But the hierarchy of power and the possibility that there could be maybe even a Shazam, Black Adam, Superman thing happening. And I think that the producer for Black Adam has actually come out on record to say that they want to develop some things over time where eventually I think Henry Cavill Superman squares off against Black Adam. Are you excited about that? Have you heard those rumors? Do you think that it's a possibility for it to happen? And again, let's not spoil the movie for anybody that hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I do think there's room. And you know what? I feel like I've been remiss in that I didn't say much about Dwayne Johnson yet. And you know, he carries the movie. I think he's terrific as the character. Um, and I'm a Dwayne Johnson fan. And what
Yeah.
I mean by that, I haven't seen a ton of his movies, honestly. Um, but I see how he handles himself out in the world. A man with a great deal of fame, a lot of money, and he he comes across as just such a good and genuine person,
Yeah.
and humble, and the way he and giving when it comes to his fans, of his money, of his time, and how generous of spirit he is. So because of that, and his story is great. The $7, next to nothing, superstardom. That's cool.
Yeah.
We've seen that before, but I like who he is since he's achieved that fame,
Yep.
because of how he treats people. He brings joy to people's lives. He's showing up at the movies, taking selfies with fans, signing autographs, surprising people. I just think that's phenomenal. And I liked him in the role. I thought he was, he was terrific for it.
But just to be clear, there's no
Mhm.
Shakespearean level acting from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Just to be clear on that, right?
You know what? Come on.
Here's the thing.
Come on.
I've seen people criticize him,
Yeah.
and they're like, his acting wasn't there, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm,
This is me speaking.
yeah.
If you go see a movie involving The Rock, you are going to get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You are not
Yeah.
going to get Denzel level acting. That's just not what you're going to get, right? So people are like, I thought it was the WWF. Okay. What did you expect from a Rock? He's always The Rock. Wherever he is, he is himself, and you come to expect that. But go ahead.
And I'll say this, in a lot of ways, I wasn't so sure that he was The Rock in this.
Okay.
I thought he was far more stoic. He's such a personable dude. Black Adam is not personable at all. And I think that worked for the character. I think I would have liked to have seen some different emotion from the character,
Yeah.
more than we got. But I kind of understood where they were coming from. And when you see the film and you understand his origins and where he comes from, I think it makes more sense.
Then
I
you
think,
can understand.
he's really charming in real life. Black Adam is not charming.
But he's
Um,
also played some stoic characters in the past
I'm
where he's
sure he
like
has.
straight laced, stone faced.
Mhm.
There's no joking, there's no smiling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah.
in
That
my
fits more with
mind,
this.
like
Yeah.
I've seen him do that before,
Okay.
and you know what to expect. Like you go see certain
Yeah.
actors, and we all know who those actors are. You forget that they are who they are because they
Right.
become that character in
Yes.
for you for that 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Completely immerse themselves. Yeah.
Whenever I'm looking at Dwayne, he's always Dwayne. Like that's just who he is,
Yeah.
So I think you're going to go see this movie again. What
Yes,
is
I
your
am.
expectation of the second time that you see it?
All right. Let me explain a little bit about me. When I'm really looking forward to a film, and Black Adam is a film I was really looking forward to seeing, I tend to be a little disappointed the first time around. And I definitely was with aspects of the film. As much as I loved certain parts of it, other parts, there are ways in which I was disappointed.
Yep.
But the second time around is typically when I let the movie be the movie,
Mm.
and take it in for what it is, not maybe what my expectations or my hopes were. I'm going to go in knowing, okay, this isn't the most well developed villain in the history of movies. He has his moments. I wish
Right.
he'd had more. So I think I'm going to just sit back and enjoy it a bit more. And like I said, there are parts of this film I absolutely loved, and I understand why some fans are like, I don't get it. I love this movie. What were the critics watching?
Yeah.
And then I look at the critics and I'm like, yeah, I would have liked to have seen more of the JSA's backstory. I would have liked to have seen more of the villain's backstory. Maybe this scene would have been better served if, there'd been a bit more setup,
Yep.
The humor kind of fell flat for me. And I think that may serve, the reason for that might be because they put a lot of the jokes in the commercials and the trailers that, because of social media, I've seen over and over and over again. So it's not as funny the 30th time,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I'm looking forward to seeing, if my opinion changes and shifts, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
There we go. All right, Dave, I want to thank you for coming on, brother. Where can people get a hold of you on the social media should they want to tune in to hear what you have to say about the second viewing of Black Adam a little bit later this week? Where can people find you?
Sure. Well, if they want to hear a lot, and not just me, DC Watch with Anachronic Comics and Pretty Fly, the three of us do a really deep dive into the film. And so deep a dive that we're splitting it up into two separate parts. The first will have more non-spoiler thoughts. The second will include spoilers. So if you go to Anachronic Comics YouTube channel, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, that'll be up. And if you want to find me on social media, Action Figure Comedy on Instagram and YouTube.
There we go. Thank you, brother. I definitely appreciate you coming on. Have a good night.
Thank you, Reggie. You too.
All right. So there we go. Again, I think it's always helpful to have somebody to come on to talk about some of these things, to bring it to life a little bit differently than I can. Again, because I don't really go to the theater, and I don't think that I've ever seen a movie twice at a theater. So I applaud Dave for doing that, for giving it 2 shots on goal to change his opinion, his impressions, and I think he's done that before with other movies. So I don't think it's unique to Black Adam in any way, shape, or form. So I did not cut him off. I absolutely, he waved, he got the hand down and everything before. So for those folks that are coming in a little bit late, we spent some time talking about Black Adam. The fact is that this movie has brought in a significant amount of money this weekend. It exceeded analyst expectations by bringing in $67 million in the domestic box office. I think the original forecast was $60 million. It brought in $67 million. Globally, this movie has brought in $140 million, which is a tremendous amount of money. And leading into this, I want to say the critics gave this movie a 44%. And as more critics have actually watched the movie, the score has fallen even more, down to 40% of people, of 40% of critics have, I thought, favorably upon this movie versus 90% of audiences, which says a lot. And I think Dave just brought to life a lot of stuff that the critics pointed out a lot of things about the movie in terms of, I think he focused more on like the development of the characters, better appreciation for the villain, letting that kind of develop and breathe a little bit to get people bought into things and invested a little bit more. Audiences didn't potentially care as much about some of those things, giving it double the score of what the critics gave it. So there you go. I don't know if folks are going to go see Black Adam, but it sounds like there's enough there to watch and to enjoy. We will see how this movie performs over time. It cost $195 million to make, and so far has brought in $140 million, which again is a lot of money globally, right? So we'll see how it all plays out over time. So another thing that I wanted to hit on really quickly was Werewolf by Night. You guys know that I saw this Marvel special presentation while I was in New York for New York Comic-Con. I watched it. I absolutely loved Werewolf by Night. I was not sure what I was going to experience going into it. I'm not a huge fan of Werewolf by Night. I'm not a huge fan of black and white movies, TV shows, or any of that other kind of stuff, but I watched it and I was entertained. One of the things that a lot of people always try to do with these movies and TV shows is they watch them and they try to trace back to the source material. What source material was referenced for this movie, for this TV show? I want to know what that was. Up until this point, we didn't really know what Werewolf by Night was based on at all. And it was recently revealed that there were 2 comics that were loosely associated with the special presentation that dropped. And I want to tell you what those 2 books are right now. So it says here, Werewolf by Night writer reveals Marvel Comics inspirations. And it says here, if I can find it, Heather Quinn was actually the writer. Let me see. She points out here Where is the issue? There it is. Werewolf by Night issue number 6 was part of the inspiration. There was an issue called Carnival of Fear. Carnival of Fear, Werewolf by Night issue number 6, released in 1973, that served as part of the inspiration for what she put together. The other was Werewolf by Night 4, and there was a something in here, I think it was entitled The Danger Game, and it was about a story about a big game hunter who basically brought Werewolf by Night in and hunted him because he was bored with his more traditional hunts. So those were the 2 books, Werewolf by Night 4 and Werewolf by Night 6, that the special presentation was actually based on. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to at least kind of share that with you guys. So because again, I didn't think it was based on anything, to be honest with you. Again, I'm not the biggest Werewolf by Night fan, so it's not surprising I couldn't trace it back, but I wanted to at least share that with you guys. This was on comicbook.com. So if you want to read the full article, you can actually find it there. All right. I want to highlight one other thing. So for those that don't know, I've been doing these updates, these news updates. When news comes out, news breaks, I try to do a quick reel of it on Instagram primarily, but secondarily YouTube and also the TikTok. So I'm on all the platforms. So I record something, I try to get it out there in a timely manner when some news breaks related to comics. Instead of just waiting for the live shows, I do it in this form as a reel or short. So I recently reported, I can't remember where, but that there was a writer that was hired to come on to actually work on Rob Liefeld's script for Prophet. And this was a movie that is going to be starring Jake Gyllenhaal. And there were some comments where people were like, I thought that the script was already written. Why did they need another writer? Yes, the script was written and now they are doing a rewrite of it. And I don't know if this is a bad thing or not. It's something that, again, popped up in the news that I wanted to kind of share with you guys. So let's talk about that very briefly. Rob Liefeld's Prophet adaptation brings in 300 writer for script rewrite. And if you check it out here, let me see if I can find it. Kurt Johnstad, I think Johnstad, I don't know how. Kurt, who is known for working on such films as The 300 and Atomic Blonde, has been hired to write the latest version of the Prophet script. And it says his work will replace the first draft that was penned by Mark Guggenheim. It says, let me see if I can find it here. Basically, I think that they were pretty pleased with the first version of it. It was that first version that actually got Jake Gyllenhaal on board to star as Prophet. But I guess for some reason or another, they felt like they needed to do a rewrite. And I don't know if they're going to rewrite the entire thing. It is unclear how much work he's going to do, whether he's going to rewrite certain sections or if it's going to be a complete grounds up rewrite. But previously, Rob Liefeld has gone on record to say that Jake Gyllenhaal, even though he's tied up with other projects, has been providing feedback on the script. So maybe what they're going to do is to go back and rewrite the parts based upon feedback from Jake Gyllenhaal over the last couple of years. It's unclear how much work the new writer is going to do, but I, again, wanted to clarify some things that were reported on previously, that a writer had been hired. It is true, but the writer is going to be doing a rewrite. How much of a rewrite, we do not know. So there you go. Wanted to make sure I covered off on that. Let me go back to the cat. There you go. There you go. Phil Tastic's on it. Says rewrites are common in films. There you go. Scrolling through, Rob is pretty interesting on Whatnot. He's on Whatnot. I didn't know that. Check that out. I thought he was just on whatchamacallit. Steve Congé is getting on the board with it. So there you go. Please do not bring trouble. Please do not bring trouble here. All right. So one other thing that I wanted to make mention of to you guys. If you read Isolation issue number 1, and if you enjoyed Isolation issue number 1, if you have comments on that issue, Old School Letters page, if you have thoughts about issue number 1, please send them to Reggie@ReggieCollects.com. I'm not going to say any more than that. If you are a comic book fan, you an old school comic book fan, you know what a letters page is, and you know what has to be done if you are interested. One last thing, we named 2 winners earlier this week of guides, the guide from CGC and the guide that Doug and I put together that will be released in November. The first place, William chose to take our guide, the Guide to Smart Comic Collecting, as his prize, which means that the second prize of the CGC guide is up for grabs. Technically not up for grabs. It is going to be made available to the person that won second place. That person has not yet sent me an email. So Danny, if you are watching, I need you to send me an email to Reggie@ReggieCollects.com with your full government name, your mailing address, so that I can have CGC send you a copy of their guide. All right, so make sure you do that, Danny, as soon as possible so that we can make that magic happen. All right, there you go. Steve's like, I love those letter pages. It is going down again. Reggie@ReggieCollects.com. Let me give you guys a quick rundown again of some of the videos that are coming out this week. We're going to do a Cosmic Keys video. We're going to run down must-have Cosmic Keys, at least books that I think are must-have Cosmic Keys. We'll see what you guys think of the list when you have a chance to look at it. We're also going to look at an error. I have an error that has taken place. I'm going to share that error with you. And when you hear that, you think that it's bad. It may not necessarily be that. So that'll be happening this week. And then we're also going to do a Snag These Books Now. And then we're going to have a live show on Wednesday, Comics Today on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, the podcast drops on Monday morning. So there you go. I'm just saying, what William chose wisely. William chose wisely. I am not available to answer those questions at the moment. Oh yeah, huge shout out to JAF Comics. Huge shout out to JAF Comics in Bethlehem, PA. They hosted Doug and Delia this weekend for a signing of Isolation. It looks like they had a great time. Huge shout out to John. We absolutely appreciate John's support of everything that we do here at the channel. And he most recently, again, he hosted Doug and Delia for a signing. Shout out to Scott P, who is our that does a lot of the production, a lot of the graphics work for the channel. He was also involved in getting Doug and Delia out there to JAF Comics. So huge shout out to them. All right. With that said, we're going to wrap this thing up. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. As always, if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
My body ate itself until it found its passion. They got fat while we starved, but it's power in fasting. Until I turn to ashes, I remain stoic through my rap heroics. I painted 10,000 poems, then I drank the potion of poetry and motion. I started choking, it was potent. My throat chakra downloaded, knowledge hungry. I was embarrassed I could ask my parents for money when I had a full tummy. So I asked for wisdom, better than crypto, sweeter than honey. I don't take it for granted, I don't wear capes and masks.